Go ahead. Good evening. Welcome to our Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee. It is July 16th, 2025. Appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate everybody else watching us on TV and hanging out with us. We're going to begin our meeting as we typically do, and that's with a prayer and the pledge. And tonight, providing our prayer, is Father Jeff Jones. He is the priest at Holy Father Anglican Church. He has also been the chaplain for the Hendersonville Police Department since 2011. Father Jones, it's wonderful to have you back here. We appreciate what you do for the city and for our community very, very much.
Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege to serve this community and seek your guidance as we deliberate the city's budget. Grant us wisdom, unity, and respect in our discussions, mindful of the needs of the vulnerable. May our decisions reflect your love, justice, and compassion, bringing peace and equity to all. This evening, we also remember Jo Skidmore. May her soul and the soul of all the faithful departed rest in peace. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Jones. Again, that's Father Jeff Jones with Holy Family Anglican Church. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please join for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to entertain a motion to accept the agenda. We have a motion from Alderman Garza and a second from Alderman Garten. We can only remove items. Since this is a special meeting, we cannot add any. Does anybody wish to remove any items or to rearrange them? All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. We don't have any presentations. We are going to continue our public hearing for the budget, and that's ordinance 2025-09. We don't have anybody signed up to hear that. If for some reason we do not approve second reading tonight and we have to come back and have a meeting for second reading of the budget, we will continue the public hearing until that meeting. Just keep that in mind if that is a possibility. Let's see. Next, I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes for May 27th, our meeting then. So we have a motion from Alderman Goodwin and a second from Alderman Ward. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the minutes that you received in your packet for the May 27th meeting, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. We have two people signed up for citizen comments. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to any other speaker. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, that's me, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. First person we have is Christina Bannister. Christina, when you come up here, give us your address, please. Yep.
Hey, my name is Christina Bannister, and I live at 101 Spadeleaf Boulevard, Hendersonville, Tennessee. I am in Ward 2. If you guys are ready, I am too.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Aldermen, and fellow members of the community. My name is Christina Bannister, and I proudly reside in Ward 2 in the city of Hendersonville. I also serve as a city employee. I bring with me nearly 15 years of experience in the government service. As a widowed mother of 2 children, one's currently serving in the military, and the other one working in the medical field, I understand the true meaning of sacrifice, dedication, and the strength of community. Like many in the city of Hendersonville, I work 2 jobs, and I lead a modest life, driven by hope of building a better future for me and my family. Tonight, I will speak to you not just as a resident, but as a city employee, but as someone who cares about the well-being of our future and the community here in Hendersonville. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. That being said, I come before you with great respect for the work that each of you do, with consideration for the decisions that lie ahead for our community. The topic of approving a raise for a department has clearly brought mixed emotions, opinions, and understandably so. It's not just about a line item in a budget. It's about our people, our families, and our livelihoods. It's about fairness, recognition, and unity within our city, and overall just doing the right thing. While we recognize and support the importance of ensuring departments being staffed adequately to serve and protect our citizens, we must be careful not to unintentionally create division based on a decision made in a detriment time and need. When one department receives a raise without a broader acknowledgement of others in a practical manner, it can lead to internal frustration, hurt feelings, vacancies, and the sense that some roles are more valued than others. It creates division and difficult work environments. And the truth is, every department plays a vital role in the success and the well-being of our city. No single team stands alone in making this community thrive. From public works to public safety, from administrative to community services, every employee contributes to our shared mission. Their dedication deserves recognition, and their hard work deserves fair compensation based on strategic studies as common practice for our surrounding cities. I urge to us not to think about the immediate want, but also about the long-term unity and the morale of our workforce here. If we begin to isolate monetary recognition to one group at a time, we risk undermining the very spirit of our teamwork and collaboration that keeps our city moving forward as one. So while we stand the urgency of addressing staff shortages where they exist, I respectfully ask that we do so with an eye towards equity and appreciation for all our departments, and consider of monetary raises equally and fair to function. Let us move forward in a way that builds unity rather than division, and show every member of our city and team that they matter. Thank you again for your time tonight, and for listening to my voice, even though it may quiver. I speak not only for myself, but for many people who care about this, and their voices go unheard. I appreciate your service and your commitment to Hendersonville to make it a better place for us to live and to work. Thank you.
Christina, thank you. Next, we have Charlena Allmiller, Ruland Circle.
Hi, I'm Charlena Allmiller, and I live at 143 Roland Circle. I am here tonight to speak about 3 items generally and transparency overall. The first item I would like to discuss is I am glad that the raises have been considered to be increased to 6%. And I know that people will say 10% whenever you consider the COLA and the merit that would already be incorporated in the annual amount. But I am hoping that at some point in time we will come with parity amongst all of our departments, because I do agree with the previous speaker that no one department makes this city go. And also, I would, in that vein, I would hope that the people that are elected don't get any raises, because like your raise happens whenever you get elected. If you run for office, you know what salary you're getting into. Sometimes you can get people to change it after you get elected, but I think that should be up to the people to decide. As for the Piedmont Gas franchise fee, I was surprised to read some of the minutes on the discussion that happened at the first reading. And it was presented as if the city is not in compliance by not having a franchise agreement. And I went out and I got Piedmont's tariff to see how many cities actually do have a franchise fee. And I know that the person who represented Piedmont Gas actually said that the range is 0% to 5%, but nobody actually got a feel for how many are 0%. And I will tell you that there are only 7 cities, and then Metro, so 8 if you count, 9 if you count. Nolensville does 3%, 7 cities do 5%, and then Metro does 7.19%. And no other cities do it. So there are several other cities in the 9 counties that are served by Piedmont that provide 0% pass-through tax to their citizens on something that is needed for heat. And I hope that this BOMA approves a 0% fee for the franchise fee. In our case, this is not a new city. Piedmont's pipes were actually in the ground before we were even incorporated. So oftentimes, whenever you have a franchise fee or a franchise agreement in general, it's because you're starting out and you're trying to come up with the agreement of how the utility is going to put pipes in the ground. But these pipes are already in the ground, so I understand that nobody wants to do a property tax increase on this BOMA, but I will point out that the reason that California is so expensive a place to live is because they capped their property tax increases in Proposition 13, and ever since then, every other cost in California has increased. So I don't really appreciate how it was presented that we need this franchise agreement for compliance, because we don't, and we don't need the fee. And I'm kind of sick of the lack of transparency that is being shown. Either somebody is not informing you correctly, or you're not informing the people correctly, and neither one of those scenarios is good. In that vein, I'd also like to say that I'd like the expenditures of the salaries for each department, just the salaries for each department, to be able to done in a trend analysis for at least 3 years, but hopefully 5 years, in a budget or an annual report. Whenever I go out there and I try to do the executive branch, I see that 1 year you've added a salary or a position here, then the next year you've taken it out, and the next year you've added a different position in here. And that is affecting the comparability. And comparability is a cornerstone, a foundation in accounting that allows you to be able to compare 1 year to another year. And by playing this shell game with positions, nobody can compare things. So it would be great if you guys could do that, because that would just show that you're not afraid of what you're doing. If you're doing the right thing, you should have no problem with everybody seeing it. I do hope that you will consider what I've said tonight on transparency, and thank you again for the consideration for this 6% raise. I do hope that you will consider all of our people, because they are what makes the city go, and we wouldn't need you if we didn't have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. We have nothing on the consent agenda. Now we're to ordinances and resolutions, and the first item we have under there is second reading of ordinance 2025-10. This is an ordinance granting franchise to Piedmont Natural Gas Company, Inc. We do have somebody from Piedmont if we want them to speak. Of course, we have to suspend the rules to do that, but right now I need a motion. Alderman Martin. We have a motion from Alderman Martin and a second from Alderman Bergdorf. Alderman Collins. Alderman Martin, do you wish to speak?
Speak in a minute after the others.
Okay, Alderman Collins.
I would like to make a motion to change the percentage from 5 to 0 for the franchise fee. I'm not sure where it is.
Okay,
I'm not sure where it is in the document, I'm sorry.
we'll have Lance take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay,
And I will say that my reasoning is that I didn't realize that so few cities were utilizing the tax, but I hate for us to put a fee on what people use to heat their homes. That's the whole reason. So we can have a franchise agreement that gets everything in writing that we want to have in writing. It doesn't have to have a fee associated with it.
thank you, Alderman Collins. Appreciate that. Alderman Dixon, you want to speak, or should we come back to you? No, I'm good. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask, before we go into much more conversation, I'm going to ask Tamara and Jesse. I think Jesse's in the other room. So, and Stephen, if, without objection, I'm going to suspend the rules because I'm sure we're going to have some questions for Stephen that only Stephen can answer. So Stephen, do you want to come up here and just introduce yourself at first, and then we'll probably get to you in just a second.
Sure. Stephen Francescan, Piedmont Natural Gas, Government Community Relations Manager.
Okay,
Tennessee.
appreciate that. Please hang out. So just to make sure we all understand what the implications are of this, about a couple days after we considered this before, Stephen gave me a shout, and it turns out that the numbers that we had been relying on as far as the impact to revenue for the city were off significantly. Jesse, do you want to help us out with that?
Yeah, so we had put 195,000 in the budget. We got an update from Piedmont. There was a request also for the average monthly bill, so that was in the staff report. And then as they were going through, they had changed from one software to another software, and so they'd cleaned it up and scrubbed the data. And they found that a 1% is actually equivalent to 150,000. So for every 1% of the franchise fee, it's equivalent to 150,000. So there's 195,000 that's currently included in the budget based on the first round of information we got from Piedmont.
Thank you. And Tamara, how much in the budget we're going to consider in just a few minutes from now? How much of the revenue are we depending on from Piedmont?
130,000.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It's 175,000.
Okay. So if this goes to zero, I think I'm saying this correctly, we then have to remove $175,000 from the revenue side of the budget.
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Evans, on the motion? On this, to go to 0%, you know what, it pretty much always is, all is, so go ahead.
Thanks. I just had a question, because when I was looking at this, I want to ask, how did we get to this point? How did we find this out, that there was a franchise? I mean, because obviously Piedmont's been here for a while. How did we get to this point where we didn't know about that? And then I want to follow up with what you were saying, Mayor, about we have to pull 175,000 out of revenue. Does that mean we have to pull 175,000 in expense as well, or can that be coming from fund balance?
So that would be operating, so it couldn't come from fund balance, is that correct, Tamara? That 175 is operating, so it couldn't come from fund balance?
That's correct.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's 195 that would come out, but we have $20,000 surplus right now. So that's where the 175 comes
Okay.
from. Yeah.
That makes sense, okay.
So, so then back to the story. How do we get to this point? So how did we find out about this? What's the
Stephen
story?
has a better memory and understands it much better than I do, so we're going to turn to him.
I don't know about the first part of that, Mayor, but I will say we were doing a periodic review, reassessing all franchise agreements, and it was determined that the city of Hendersonville was the only one that did not have a formal agreement in place. And as it was stated earlier, we always, regardless of the percentage, we want to have one in place. And that's how it all transpired. So we proactively reached out.
And so then a follow-up question to that would be, I think I heard somebody say that there's only 8 or 9 cities that even have an agreement, so we're not really talking about a whole lot. I mean, to me, Piedmont is a big player in this area, so why only 8 or 9 cities even have an agreement?
So we are in 9 counties, and a lot of that is covered through multiple agreements. I don't have the records on me right now of every franchise agreement that we have. I do believe it's higher than that. I can definitely get that information. But again, it's just something that we typically like to have in place as that blanket. We don't determine the percentage that's on the city.
Could I follow up on your question, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Stephen, since y'all are primarily Middle Tennessee, obviously there are some gas providers outside Middle Tennessee. Do you suspect that most of them have franchise agreements with multiple cities?
Within, outside of our company, or are you saying?
I'm
within
saying the
Piedmont?
other companies in the whole state.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, okay, I appreciate that. Mark, Alderman Evans, anything else? Okay, I appreciate that. Alderman Martin.
Thank you. I'm a co-sponsor to this.
because it's something I think we really need. We are starving for operational revenue. You can see it today in the room, and we are still looking to try to take care of the rest of the city employees. Nobody wants to raise property taxes, and this is a great opportunity for us to get operational revenue that we can pay our city staff, firemen, police. It's just a natural fact of it. What percentage is in the budget? 1%? The 175,
So 195 is in there.
1.95?
$195,000 is what's currently in the budget
Okay,
for
what does that
franchise fees.
equate to as a percentage? Because the 195,000 we're already
Right,
relying
so
on.
that's, were originally under the assumption that a 5% franchise fee would bring 195,000. Piedmont redid their calculation. And when they redid that, they saw that 1% brings 150,000. So depending on where we land today with the board on the percentage, we'll update the budget based on that. So 195 is somewhat, it'd be 1.3 if we did it to what is in the budget right now to the new proposal.
Okay. I'd like to offer an amendment to the amendment of 1.3%.
Alderman Martin, I'm going to second that if you'll move it to 2, and then I'll explain why.
I'll move it to 2.
Okay, I'll second that. So if we move it to 2, we would then have approximately in the neighborhood about $75,000 extra, okay? If it stays at 2, and this passes at 2 for second reading, when we get to the budget, we'll have that $75,000 extra. We do need to take action on the SAFER grant application that the city made for firefighters, because they have changed the expectations of that. It used to be the SAFER grant was, if we received the grant, it was free for the first year, maybe the first 2, I can't remember. Regardless, it's not free, the firefighters wouldn't be free for the first year. We need approximately $75,000 reserved in the event that we receive the SAFER grant. What this would allow us to do is apply for that SAFER grant up to 3 firefighters by using that excess money if we were at 2%.
Love it.
Okay. I think the conversation can be wide open on the whole thing, but really what we need to focus on is the percentage. So right now we have an amendment to the amendment. We started at 5, we went to 0. Now the conversation is at 2. Alderman Robertson. Thank you, Alderman Martin.
Stephen, would you please come forward?
Yes, sir.
So in looking at how many municipalities have franchise agreements, you would only look within your franchise territory. Of course.
Correct, for us,
You
yes,
have
sir.
a limited franchise territory in the state of Tennessee. So by saying you have 10 or 15 doesn't compare to the whole state. It's only your franchise territory, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how many
within-
counties is in your, I used to know, but how many counties are in your franchise
We
territory?
have 9, all of Davidson County, and then what I call the donut counties kind of touch, and it's all geographically, separated. So when I first got in the business, in Williamson County, it was explained to me, it was a row of trees that separated us between another gas company, and so it's there. Now we have GPS and whatnot too. So it's definitely defined by that geographic. And to answer your question, so it's 9 counties that we have opportunity to.
So when I was at the State Public Utilities Commission, I approved many of these franchises that came forward at that time. And Charlena's husband provided legal counsel for some of those franchise agreements. So I am very familiar with these. The reason the state wants these itemized on the bill is because some cities took advantage of it, to be frank. And we had to come down hard on these cities because they saw it as just a way to make a cash cow, revenue. So that's why it's itemized on the bill. So can you give me an idea of the range of franchise fees across that you're aware of? I mean, yeah.
And so obviously the max,
Right.
is 5%. And
Right.
From consumer advocate agencies or anything that, nobody wants to see it anywhere over that. Typically, we do have a few 5% and then it goes down from there. We do have a 0% as well, too. And again, it's not up to Piedmont. If the city chooses to undertake a certain percentage, it's all within the city's rights and their decision.
And the justification for this is because you're on city land. You are providing an essential service, a public utility on the city land. And like anybody, the city wants compensation for access to that city land. That's the general purpose of the law, I believe.
Yes, sir. I would say that outside of law, in addition to property taxes that we pay
Right.
and easement agreements and.
Do you
and the
know,
like.
Lance, or the mayor or staff, other franchise agreements that we charge?
Is that you, Tamara?
And I'm talking about public utilities like AT&T, Comcast.
Yeah, I
Wa-
know Comcast and DirecTV, we both do, and I believe there's a couple of others, but I'm not positive.
So we have franchise fees with other utilities.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You don't know what those are, do you? That's unfair for me to ask you because I didn't let you know beforehand.
It's okay, I can look and send that out to all of you guys, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So the motion is 2%, is that
2%
correct?
is what we
That's the
are.
amended motion. And Lance, can we change that? What kind of term is on that 2%? Let's say in a few years, Bowman wants to change that. What's the limitations?
Well, it doesn't really provide much leeway for that. It's a 25-year term. BOMA can terminate the agreement with 2/3 vote on a new ordinance with 90 days notice to Piedmont. So in a sense, it could terminate and author a new ordinance with a new fee. But we could, if subject to Piedmont's approval, which they might agree, we could put some language in there that would allow that to be more easily done.
Yeah, I would like for that language to be added. I don't know what this city's going to be facing in the future. And I hate to tie the hands of future BOMA members, by some kind of language in there that every 25, that we have to stick with 2% for 25 years.
Stephen, can you help us with that?
Yes, I believe we can accommodate any reasonable, request to put it in there. We changed the wording up a little bit to incorporate that, what Mr. Ray just said. And we can switch it up some more pending approval.
Okay.
It's fine with us.
Thank you, that's all I have.
So, Stephen, is your understanding that we could go back to the Tennessee Regulatory Authority every year with a different percentage?
Yeah, I think it would just be with a simple petition to be able to file it and pending their approval, yes.
That would have to
I'm
be,
not
the
aware.
petition would have to show a motion by this board that passed, was approved?
Yes, sir.
Mount Juliet has a franchise fee, correct? With Piedmont?
Yes, sir.
What is that percentage?
I believe it is 5.
5%?
It's 5%.
Okay, all right. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Alderman Robertson. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know who to ask this. May 27th is when we passed first reading of this ordinance, right? On May 27th, was the $195,000 in the budget as revenue? It was. I got a head nod. So, no, it was. I'm still standing with Alderman Collins' motion. I hope she still is. I do not believe that we should be imposing a fee or a tax for services that our communities have been receiving for many years. So I agree with having something in writing for the agreement, but I'm not going to vote for anything other than a zero fee. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, I So it shows here that the average Piedmont bill is $75.69. So I just calculated really quickly and just wanted to share this with the board. That would be an average of $1.51 per month from franchise fee. And of course, that's going to fluctuate because during the summer months, we're not using our gas nearly as much. And during the winter months, it's probably going to be more. So we're looking, if that doubled, you're looking at $3 of a franchise fee. So, I mean, we do need revenue for various things in this city, and so I am in support of the 2%. Thank you.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Alderman Collins.
Through volunteer work with the Samaritan Center, I am very well aware of many bills that get paid through the nonprofit community, and many people who get their heat turned off in the winter, which is when the bills are higher, and sometimes can be a couple $100s. So at that point, we're talking about $10, which might not seem like a lot to a lot of us. But if you're getting your heat turned off, that extra $10 can be an obstacle. And with respect, I would just say that I know that we look to max out everything that isn't property tax, the court cost fees, everything that isn't property tax. I don't think that this is the right way to go about doing that. We do have people in our community who struggle to keep the heat on in the winter. And with respect, the Comcast, yes, it's a utility. It is not heat. You do not need it for basic survival. They just are not, it's not the same thing. That's all I wanted to say.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Martin.
To Alderman Collins' point, we've already gone through every opportunity to raise court costs and fees and permits and everything. We have already done that due diligence, and we are still strapped for cash to help the folks here and to help the folks in the city. We need operational revenue. So I think 2% is great. It's not 5%, but it's something to help the city. So I would encourage you to please consider at least 2%.
Alderman Martin, thank you. Alderman Bergdorf.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve, correct? Yes, sir. Can you help me just a minute here? Sure. I know Piedmont is a big player in the neighborhood, right?
Yes, sir.
And they have resources where people who are struggling to pay bills can reach out, set up a payment plan, delayed paying, et cetera, et cetera. So working with you, I think our citizens can probably find some relief. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We have a 100% nonprofit, Share the Warmth, that is affiliated with us. No administrative costs whenever. Any donations go directly to programs to help those in needs. We have equal billing payment, which takes your average annual bill and equalizes it to 12 equal payments over the year. Mm-hmm. So that helps with budgeting. And there are various other resources too outside of Piedmont and opportunities there that can assist with some of those higher billings, especially during the winter.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to ask you about that specifically because we're talking about our citizenry being able to afford heat in winter. And there are ways, there are resources out there, much like Alderman Collins has mentioned. But I do believe the need to find revenue, operational revenue, is a big, it's big. I mean, we're here at budget time, and this is unusual that just came up at budget time. It's like the Lord has just put you in our pocket, did he not? So I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to support this. Thank you.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Any other discussion? So, Jason, you ready for us?
Let me say something.
Okay, go ahead, Lance. Go ahead. Oops, sorry, Jason. Lance wants to speak. He will be helpful. Hold on, Alderman Skidmore. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question. And I noticed, and we did talk about it because I had the question written down. I'd like to get Comcast in here. to be honest with you. And I don't know what the franchise fee and agreement is with us, because whatever it is, it's not enough. I mean, I don't mind saying this, and I'll probably have my internet cut off tonight when I get home. So, and I hope that's not the case for more personal reasons on that, but I'd like to know when they're coming up, because they never, the last time they came in into this I don't even know if it was the state of Tennessee, but it was in Hendersonville. They came in from California, and that's been many, many years ago. But I'm real sincere about that. I'd like to look at Comcast. I think it needs to be raised to the max, whatever the max it is, because they're horrible. And I challenge anybody from Comcast that's in this room tonight, if there's somebody that loves Comcast, I want you to raise your hand, and I want you to stay here till after the meeting, and we can discuss how Comcast is just terrible. And I don't know if I don't think there's a person in this room that will say that Comcast is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'll tell you that. So, so my question is, and I'm real sincere about this, Mayor, when do we get to have them up here? Because I'd love for them to come up.
I mean, I think they've been on a 25-year agreement. I think we're about on, it was before I was here.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to year 10 at least.
Okay, because I was on the board when the last time they came here, and so, and I remember Hamilton, my great friend and colleague Hamilton Frost really busted them good, and I was so happy because I've hated them that long. And but you know, when it's the only service, well, AT&T does a real good job, and believe it or not, I have AT&T as well, the internet service, and I've never had one problem. But Comcast, man, even my squirrels don't like Comcast. They chew the wire, and that's honest God's truth. And they'll chew the wire, and then I'll have to have Comcast come out there, because I've even said on social media, well, my Comcast is out again. How many times that people here on this board have social media that you check people's lives and they say, well, my Comcast is out again. I bet you that 5 times a day you'll see that come through. So I guess I can wait, and I can talk to Lance about it later to see when Comcast is coming. And then I'll alert everybody to let you know when they're coming in. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Stephen, we've had some clarification from our city attorney. You might need to help us with it.
Since there isn't any provision about changing the fee, and since the fee is pretty much up to the city, do you think there's any objection by Piedmont if we added something at the end of 2.8 where the city may change the amount of the franchise fee by ordinance, subject to the Utilities Commission's approval?
Please repeat one more time.
No more than once a year?
No more than once a year?
Yeah.
I mean, we can help administrate it and file the petition. Again, the change would not be up to us. So it's totally up to you, and we'd be more than happy to help any way we could.
Is the board okay with that, and maybe somebody add that to the motion?
Okay, so Alderman Sassy, go ahead.
I need to do that with Claire.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alderman Martin, so we'll make it part of our motion, okay? Do you want to read the wording that you considered?
Just at the end of 2.8 where it talks about the fee, we can add the city may change the amount of the franchise fee by ordinance, subject to the approval of the Tennessee Utilities Commission, no more than once every year. Is that all right? Is that, well, you have I'm sorry, Stephen, you have the city, as it pertains to requests for records of revenue, you have the city shall limit such requests to no more than once every 2 years. Do you see an issue with changing the fee no more than once every year?
Unless there is something with the Utilities Commission that I'm not aware of, we don't have a problem with it from a company standpoint.
Okay.
Alderman Martin, you okay with that being part of your motion? Okay, and I'm okay with adding that, being the second on that.
Well, parliamentary inquiry, can we do that since it's an amendment of the amendment?
So that's why we're changing the motion. So we've withdrawn our motion, and we've made a different motion, essentially. 2%, including that wording.
All right.
So yes, you're right, we can't add a third layer. So, okay, does anybody need clarification of what Lance just did or what the current motion is? Okay, so Lance, do you want to, so the motion is right now, 0% was on the table. The motion that Alderman Martin and I made and that I seconded was to make it 2% and add wording that allows the city of Hendersonville to change it, to clarify the city of Hendersonville can change it every year, and that Piedmont takes no stake in that. Does that sound good? Okay, okay. Alderman Sassy, do you want to speak, or? Okay, appreciate that. Any other discussion? Okay, Jason, can you get us ready here? So the vote is on the 2% with the wording that we just added. And yes, press the green button, no, press the red one. So that passes 9-4. Hold on, Jason. In favor, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Ward, Martin, Sassy, Garza, myself. Also Alderman Robertson and Evans. So that passes. We're at 2% now. Against, Alderman Dixon, Goodwin, Garton, and Collins. Thank you, Jason. And so now we're back on the main motion of approving second reading of the franchise fee, and we're at 2%. Any other discussion? Jason, ready for us? Okay. All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red. Okay, that passes 9-4. Those in favor, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Ward, Martin, Sassy, Garza, myself. Alderman Robertson and Evans. Those against, Alderman Dixon, Goodwin, Garton, and Collins. You good? Okay, appreciate that. Thank you all. Next, we have second reading of ordinance 2025-9. This is an ordinance of the City of Hendersonville, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending July 30th, 2026. As I said I would do just a few minutes ago, I'm going to offer an amendment taking $75,000 in revenue that we just added and placing that we place that in salaries and benefits for the fire department. For the specific use of the SAFER grant, if we get the SAFER grant, but now the SAFER grant no longer provides 100% of the first year's pay. It provides less than that. So I'm going to ask that we add $75,000 to that, so we can apply for the SAFER grant for 3 additional firefighters. I have a second from Alderman Collins. We need to talk about just that right now. Alderman Martin.
I'm sorry, we need to talk about just the SAFER grant?
Just the SAFER grant, and, okay. Alderman Sassy? Okay. Alderman Evans? Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
I just had a real quick question on the SAFER grant. So before when we talked about that, it was to be paid. So where did we miss that?
Who's best? Jesse? Thank you.
So there were some new guidelines that came out with the grant application, and it's no longer funded at 100%. So in the past, at least since I've been here, it's been at 100%. And now the grant's only funded, it's still 3 years, but your first year they fund 75%, second year 75%, and then the third year they only fund 35%.
Ooh.
So the first 3 years are not free anymore. Of course, you know, the fourth year and on, the city picks up the tab 100%. But now there's even a cost sharing for the first 3 years in the grant.
And what do we think those dollars are? Is the $75,000 going to be sufficient for the first year?
Yeah, for 3 employees, $75,000 covers it.
Okay.
Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Sassy on this? Or are you just pressing the button for later? Okay. Alderman Goodwin for this?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I will just say that the SAFER grant came through public safety and it passed unanimously with a positive recommendation to approve the SAFER grant to go on to BOMA. So just remember that when you're making your decisions.
Thank you, Alderman Goodwin. Alderman Martin on this or later?
Later.
Okay. So nobody else seems to want to discuss this item? Jason? So all those in favor of the amendment, please press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you all. I think Alderman Robertson.
Did you get a copy of this?
Go ahead.
Yes. And I have an amendment to what was approved at the first reading as well. And that amendment, let me explain first. When I brought forward that amendment, I meant it only for the professional staff. And I'm afraid that possibly it might be read that we're leaving out the COO for a 2.5% increase, just like the chiefs and assistant chiefs. So that's the first part of my motion. The second part is I would like to make sure that all elected officials of BOMA are excluded from the supplemental pay increase. So that includes every member of this board would be excluded. They would get the 2.5% cost of living, which is always taking place, unless somebody wants to, I guess, eliminate that. But the supplemental, I don't want any elected official to be able to receive the supplemental pay increase.
And Alderman Robertson, I'm going to second that. I'm the one who, if that affects the most. I'm the only full-time elected official we have. I'm the only one that has a residency requirement to be full-time for the city. I have said many, many times that pay for anybody at the city of Hendersonville should not be based on pay for anybody else in the city of Hendersonville. I am in a unique situation that there are 30,000 people that are qualified for my job. There are not 30,000 people to qualify to do many jobs in the city of Hendersonville because they're very, very specialized in the expertise and the education it takes for those. But at the end of the day, there's really only one person to be qualified for my job, and that you have to win an election. Having said that, I want to go back to what I just mentioned, as I've said many, many times to our staff, that pay for somebody who works for the city of Hendersonville should not be based on pay for somebody else that works for the city. Really, the pay for the mayor's position, I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about the next person and the next person who hold this job, really pay for that needs to be comparable to a similar position. There are not many similar positions in the state of Tennessee that use our charter. Full-time mayor, head of the executive, head of the legislative body. There aren't that many of them, and not a city this size, by all means. And so, having said that, I can't justify the mayor's position getting a raise because we haven't compared it to other mayor's positions that are similar. And so I'm absolutely fine with your amendment that I've never seen a merit increase, neither have y'all. Elected officials don't. But to provide more than that 2.5%, I can't make a case that the mayor should get more than that because we don't have any comparable data to say that that makes sense. So I'm absolutely fine with your motion and support it 100%. So, Alderman Sassy on this?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Just wanted to get clarification. So you said the amendment is an acknowledgement? Is that all this is? Because this doesn't really change anything,
Right.
right?
Right. Go ahead.
He's not on. If you could turn on.
There
his
we go,
mic,
okay.
Thank you.
I was afraid that my motion wasn't clear, and I wanted to make it crystal clear that the elected officials of this board are not included in the supplemental pay raise, but that all the professional staff that didn't receive a raise at mid-year would receive, which would include the COO.
Right. So this amendment, it doesn't really amend anything, though, right? It's just a point of clarification to it.
Okay. Well, I guess, Lance,
But-
do we need an amendment, or is just
Because
legislative
seeing is-
record, legislative history enough on this?
Nothing changed, right? It's just a point of clarification.
Yes.
I think your clarification's on record, so that you don't
Okay.
have to change it.
I'll withdraw my second.
I withdraw my motion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Alderman Sassy, anything else? on
That's
this?
all.
Okay. So, Alderman Sassy, I think you have an amendment, so we're back on the main motion of the budget. Did you have something else?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Go ahead.
And I have some slides for y'all. This will be fun. First time ever doing slides up here on the screen. Here we go. All right. So at the first reading, we approved scenario 5. So on these slides, I'm including the mayor's original budget, which included a excuse me, the 2% COLA. In fact, all of these include the 2% COLA. Isn't there a slide one before this? There should be one slide before this. Thank you. So all of these include the 2% COLA and the 2.5% merit increase as it shows down there at the bottom. These percentages are just the salary increases from there, the supplemental pay, I guess. So what I'm proposing, as you all know, is scenario 2A. So what this will do is at grades 20 and below, it's going to be a 6.7%. We've all seen that on the scenario sheet, which is a difference of a 0.7%. And in the 21 through 24, it's a difference of negative 0.5%. With a 5.5 over the 6% that we've already voted in as of first reading. So let's go to the next slide. So as you can see, that grade 20 and below, it actually affects 209 employees. So it's going to affect what percentage of that of the employees? That's over three quarters, right?
Yeah.
So over 3/4 of the employees are actually going to be positively impacted from this. They're going to see, instead of an increase, and this includes the COLA and the merit and everything, instead of a $6,900 increase, they would see a $7,400 increase. This is annualized, so it's about $500 more per year. The grades 21 through 24, they will see a slight decrease, the 524, than the scenario 5, but it is still a $1,200 increase over the originally proposed budget. Next slide. So this is the salary changes for these 3 example grades. So a police records clerk, they're going to see an increase of $333 over scenario 5. A parks assistant maintenance supervisor would see a $473 increase. A fire inspector sees a $576 increase, and these are all over scenario 5. If we elect to do scenario 2A. And last slide. So I also wanted to bring up the annualized dollars to really bring it home so we understand what this means to our employees. Remember, this is going to, the 20 and below is going to impact 209 employees of our staff positively. And so we're looking at the police records clerk, their current salary is $43,000. The original budget that was proposed would be $48,427. The scenario 5 brought it to 47, a little bit less, so 47,982. And then the scenario 2 is it brings it back into the 48 again, so 48,315, which is about $100 less than the originally proposed budget. Then you go to the grade 15, and we're going to see that it increases the scenario 5 by that $473, so we're at 68.5 instead of 68.1, and over the originally proposed budget, it's an increase of about $700. Then at grade 20, again, it's going to increase a little bit more, right, because of that percentage scale of instead of 90,533, it's going to go to 92,074, or instead of the 91,898 or 498 as we currently have, it's going to go up to 92,000, right? So it's an increase of $764 over that. So these are the staff that are going to be positively impacted by the scenario 2A. 209 employees. These are real people. These are real dollars. It's hard to live in Hendersonville. It's expensive to live in Hendersonville. What we're trying to do is do what we can to make it easier to live in Hendersonville. We want you to live in Hendersonville. If you're not already, we want you here. You work here, you should live here as well. I'm proud of our city. I'm proud of where we live, and I want you to be proud of that as well. And this is just one step that we can take to get them a little bit closer. And I pray in successive years I will be able to do even more. But I just wanted to show you this in real dollars, what that would look like. And with that, I propose an amendment to scenario 2A for the budget.
I'll second that.
We have a second from Alderman Garza. Tamara, is this is the same as 2A that we considered 2 weeks ago? Nothing's changed, right? Oops.
You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the chart that we had is still applicable in this situation?
Yeah, I do have, can I ask a question on that?
Sure, I think it's important.
And it stemmed from the question a minute ago. With the other executive positions in 25 and 26, are we also including, is that intended to include the COO on that, or no?
Well, nothing changes, right? So, no, it would- my assumption, or my understanding is no, it would not.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was,
Yeah.
Well, hold on, I think we're saying two different things. Yeah, we are. So the clarification was that only elected people.
Only elected would not receive the two.
Right.
But the CEO, because he's employed.
Right.
You would. Okay, yeah, nothing, none of that changes.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a second? Alderman Garza. Okay, so Alderman Dixon.
Thank you. I just have a question. I appreciate your slides. You did a lot of good work here. I appreciate that. What is the bottom line? Bottom line for the budget we have in front of us that we voted on for scenario 5, what is the bottom line change?
Tamara?
So the bottom line change from scenario 5 to scenario 2A is roughly $23,000. Right, turn it on. With the amendments that already happened to add the additional revenue for the franchise agreement with Piedmont, taking into consideration the $75,000 for the Fire Safer grant, and then this amendment, we are on the operating budget about $28,000 with the surplus.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But even before that, it was also revenue neutral.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It
Okay.
was.
Alderman Dixon, anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Collins.
I do have a point of clarification. I did not think that aldermen were getting the COLA.
We are not.
We
So-
are not. Okay.
So, well, in the previous one, Alderman get the COLA, not the merit, and not the additional COLA.
Well, I don't want us to have any of it in any scenario, so.
Okay, that will need an amendment then, because that's
Can
But
not.
in
can we
this
do
one,
that
it's-
amendment after this? Because I will second that amendment.
Tamara,
Yeah.
in the, because I can see your body language. In scenario 5,
They said no.
what was included for the COO position?
There, it included the 2% COLA for the COO position in scenario 5.
And that is it?
And that is it. And then there were nothing increased for members of BOMA. On page 27 of your packet, it has the table that shows what the monthly rate is for BOMA that was included in the budget. It's the same as it was in the
same
prior
as it
year.
was. Perfect. And in scenario 5, the current thing, before we vote on this, is what was done with the mayor's salary? The 2% COLA?
Yes, that was the
And
only.
that was the
And that
only
was the
thing.
only increase.
And that's been the case forever.
I think that's appropriate. And that is the same situation for 2A.
Yes, sir.
2% COLA for the mayor and the COO, and nothing for aldermen.
That's what's in there right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification, and I agree that aldermen should not receive the cost of living. So I misspoke of that earlier, so it's not in there, so it's not included, correct? I want to thank the chairman of the Finance Committee for his work. I would almost call it scripted, but it's good. It's really good. Scripted.
I did come prepared.
There you go. I like that. That's another name for it. And, you know, when I put forward scenario 5, there was really nothing else on the table at that time. And I was trying to find a compromise. I've always, on my time on this board, tried to find compromises. I appreciate the effort that you put in that. And believe it or not, I'm going to support it. I'm going to support it because it does. I can recall when I was first hired by the state, I didn't get, my paycheck was pretty weak. And as a result, of course, my wife had to work, but I also had 3 jobs. I was a janitor of my father's church. I sold pit bulldogs. I had a couple of female pit bulldogs, and I refereed football and basketball. I don't know which of those was the hardest, but I do know that it's hard, and so your amendment, I think, does provide a little more help, and I assume that other members of the Finance Committee support that motion. Is that, okay. Well, I support it because I do think that it's a good compromise. So with that, I do intend to support it. Thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Evans.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Number one, 2A was in the last meeting, that's the one I was going after anyway, so I appreciate that. But I do want to make clear, I think it was mentioned in the last meeting that scenario 5 did also include a couple of tweaks with a few people that maybe where a supervisor might be making less than someone they supervise. I'd like for that to be included in 2A as well, if that's the one that we're entertaining to vote. Okay, thank you.
So, Annette's taking a look. Tamara, you got, okay. Tamara, what does that do? What does that do to us?
There's one employee that this situation would cause to have their subordinate leapfrog them and make
Okay.
More. I have calculated it into the scenario that was approved for the first reading, and it was about a $3,000 impact.
Okay.
And so I've got that into account in the numbers that I'm looking at here. So
Do we need a clarification on that the motion does not affect that?
yeah, if we say that it doesn't affect that and we're going to continue that, then we can add. We had to add 2 steps to the one person. We'll look and see if one step is adequate with this change, with the reduction from 6% to 5.5%, or if it would still require 2 steps.
Yeah, I would like to include that with my motion then.
Okay, so up to 2 steps, is that a good way to say it?
Yeah.
Alderman Garza, are you okay with that? Okay. So we're just going to go back to the main motion that we had a second ago. Were there any other items in the first reading that we need to include in this? Oh, so Alderman Sassy, we also had a motion to move the pay study to non-operating.
Yeah, that doesn't change.
Okay, so that doesn't change. Okay. Anything else that concerns you? Okay. Jason, can you bring up the first slide, please, on Alderman Sassy's presentation? There we go. Alderman Sassy, the difference is comparing scenario 5 to scenario 2A, am I correct?
That's right,
Okay.
on each slide.
Okay. So, Jason, can you go to the next one? Thank you. I just need to look at it for just a second. Okay. I might come back to that. Alderman Skidmore, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I just wanted to let the board, the mayor and the board know that I have an amendment as well. So before this final ordinance passes, I have to discuss the budget as well. So if it's after this part passes, I want to make sure that the whole budget as a whole does not pass yet.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you.
We'll come back to you. Any other discussion on this amendment that came from Alderman Sassy and was seconded by Alderman Garza? Does anybody need it clarified or repeated? Yes. Okay. We're going to turn to Annette.
Okay.
So in the big picture, we are replacing scenario 5 with scenario 2A. And?
Do you want me to read all this language?
Yeah,
from the
let's
last
go
one?
ahead.
Okay. So, proposing 2A to replace scenario 5, and that staff identify any case where an employee subject to a 2.5 raise will be eclipsed in base pay by approval to raise the employee's base salary a step within their existing pay grade, so they are not eclipsed by a subordinate's base pay who receives the 6% raise, and such pay adjustments are not to exceed 2 steps in the pay grade or 5%.
Anything else that we need to,
And then the 150,000.
It did mention 6%, so maybe we need to change that to.
Did 6.7.
Yeah,
Oh.
change that to
Yeah.
6.7.
okay. And that's your understanding of what your proposal is? Alderman Garza, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Don? Okay. Any other clarification, any other discussion? Alderman Bergdorf?
Yes, sir. Can you be, during the discussion, did we not say up to 2 steps? Was that included?
She said that.
She did, I'm sorry, I missed it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Said not to exceed 2 steps. See it? Okay. Jason, you ready for us? Okay. All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you all. We're going to go to
Alderman Robertson, I need to bring slides more often.
Way to be prepared.
Alderman Skidmore.
That's pretty good. Oh, that's good. You guys are killing me tonight, I'll tell you. Yes, Mayor, thank you. Back to serious business here. This may sound like it's not really anything, but in the grand scheme of things, to me it is. I would like to make an amendment that, for our budget, to take about $30,000 out of the tree bank money from the developers that give, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but they give money when they're doing a development in town, like a residential subdivision or business. But I know that, I'm almost sure that we have about I know it's over $100,000. I know that for a fact. But I would like to take 30,000 of that out of that, because, and it's not taxpayers' money, and it's strictly from the development community, that and put that in our budget to where we can replace some of the trees that have died in our community, because I look at them every day, and it's just because they just didn't, trees are funny, I know. They just, what's the old saying, an old Southern saying, they just didn't take, and they died. And so instead of having taxpayers come out and pay for the trees and everything, by the bypass or even in town, or just wherever that that it's necessary, that we replace that with the $30,000 and put those trees back. And there may be some other areas of town that we can beautify Hendersonville more than, because this town's, I was going down into the lake and I said, in the wintertime, this place is just really not appealing. But with the rain that we've had and it's come out and the trees are out there, it's really a pretty community, as a whole for the city. So I would like to make that amendment, Mayor.
Okay. We have a second from, where did I hear that? Alderman Sassy. Help us out, Timothy, or Tamara, go ahead. You're fine.
Yeah, there's more than enough in the tree bank to do that.
Yeah, how much exactly is it?
If you give me about
Oh,
5
no,
minutes,
don't worry
I
about
can-
it.
I
You don't
can
have to look
at
it up. But I know it's more than 100,000, right?
Yeah, we recently
Yeah.
got a pretty large payment that went into the tree bank.
Okay.
For reference, Annette's gonna want this information. It's on page 55 of your budget book, under the planning department. It's line number 21.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
She just asked me where that was. So,
Thank you very much for that.
and so for clarification, Alderman Skidmore, I think you did a good job at this. This is not taxpayers, this did not come from the taxpayers, it came from developers.
Right, yes, sir. So I don't, some of the things that a lot of times, Mayor, that we see on social media, that we get and rightfully so, I'm going to tell you, that we do things that are, that dealing with taxpayers' money. But this is a great opportunity for the city of Hendersonville to exercise the right that we're trying to beautify our city and get it just the way that we picture it, actually. And it doesn't come from the taxpayers' money, believe it or not. So, you know, so you just can't use that in that kind of respect. So, thank you, Mayor, because you're exactly right about that.
Okay, appreciate it, Alderman Skidmore. Alderman Sassy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So who can tell me how many trees does that actually cover? Because those trees can be pretty darn expensive, as Gardner Garza knows here.
The most qualified person that could tell you this in Hendersonville happens to be walking up to the podium right now.
Okay. Oh, hi.
Timothy Witten, Assistant Planning Director.
Hold on, without objection, we're going to hear from Timothy
Yes.
Witten. Okay.
So the amount was 30,000, is that correct?
30,000.
That would be approximately, let me see here. So like for a 2.5-inch caliper tree, that would be approximately 50 trees. Depending on the species.
Well, Indian Lake Boulevard's taken care of then, probably. Do we need more? Utilize more? I mean, how many trees? Maybe our Public Works Director knows this. Do we know how many trees had to be removed, or are currently dead and need to be replaced? Or
So I should say that in our amendment that's coming up to the current fiscal year budget, we're about to put some money in there.
And just for clarification, we on an annual basis, the planning department assesses needs for trees.
Oh,
and
planning
we
does?
take money
Okay.
out of the tree bank every year.
Okay.
To do tree replacement on 386, on the loop, in the parks. So we're annually spending, I would say around 30, 40, 50,000 depending, and taking that money out of the tree bank.
So this is adding an
developers'
additional
trees.
30,000. Is that right?
That was my understanding.
Okay. So what do we currently have budgeted in there, Tamara? So and I'm sorry, Director Locke. I guess this is the planning. Planning manages this, not Public Works. So, correct. Yeah.
Sometimes jointly, but primarily
Okay.
Timothy's.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
So there is currently, in the fiscal year 26 budget, there is nothing in that line item, so the 30,000 would be, making a budget line item for the tree bank for next fiscal year.
Okay. So Timothy, you just said that you're spending about 30 to 50,000 a year from it anyways. So this is only going to cover what you're going to spend in the 2026 fiscal year, right? So you probably need more.
Well, my understanding is that the amount that we draw out, the tree bank that's designated for trees anyway. That amount is it's there only for trees.
Yeah.
And we can draw out of that as we have need.
Yeah, the last 2 years, we've spent right around 30,000. The current fiscal year is about 60,000 that's being spent.
Well,
Yes, 2025 has about 60,000.
then Alderman Skidmore, I would actually request that we do 60,000. And then if we underspend, all the better. But
I think that would certainly be more than adequate to cover our needs.
Alderman Skidmore, do you want to amend or do you want to restate your motion?
I agree to it. We'll just put 60 in there.
Okay. So the motion has been changed to add 60,000 in next year's budget from the tree bank, which comes from developers' money. Who made the second?
Sassy.
Oh, Alderman Sassy, you okay with that second?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Timothy. Alderman Martin, do you want to speak on this?
Yes, I just wanted to articulate, I think, that the tree bank has a nexus and stipulations required to it, and pulling it out gives us more freedom to put trees in more locations. Is that a fair statement?
I'm going to look at them.
Yeah, so we're restricted in where we can plant trees to city property, right-of-way. Generally speaking, we can't really plant those trees on private property. We plant them at schools, parks, streetscapes, right-of-ways.
State roads.
Correct.
All right, so I think this gives us more flexibility, so I support it.
Thank you, Alderman Martin. Any other discussion on this? We'll go voice vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion. Thank you, Alderman Skidmore. Alderman Collins.
I have a question for Mr. Eckenroth. I think the point that was made during citizen comments about the changes that have been made in the administrative budget, the executive branch rather, there have been pretty significant changes, I think every year I've been on the board, and it has been understandable every year, but it does not allow for tracking trends. And I would like to ask for you, if no one objects, to include a trend analysis where those changes are reverse engineered, such that we can see, going back 4 years, what changes have occurred in the executive budget based upon what positions were there 4 years ago and what expenses were there 4 years ago. And I would like for you to include that in your next report for our next BOMA meeting, unless anybody has an objection.
Well, here's what we can do. Since I supervise him, I'll just commit to that, because it's going to show you all significant savings for the way that we have adjusted the staff.
Did you understand what I was asking? I'm not sure I articulated that very well.
So if I look at the budget over the last 4 years, I can give you a makeup of the dollars and what those dollars are going to.
Yeah, like look at the executive branch, the executive department 4 years ago and what it looked like at that time, and pretend that we didn't move any people in and out. And if the positions stayed the same, like we've...
Sure. So we took the executive, we took one of the executive assistants and we made them part PIO, part executive assistant. We bumped the pay up for that. So I guess what you're asking is then take all those positions as if they hadn't left and then do an analysis on those individual positions.
And if it's not really possible, then yes, show the individual positions and everything that's moved in and out of that department, and show us where we've trended on that, and other expenses that are in the department that aren't salary as well. And just show us a lot more detail on a 4-year report for what the executive department has looked like.
I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Evans.
Just a clarification on that, if I may, but I think you were saying all departments. You weren't just saying all, just executive. Okay.
That's the one I've had trouble
Following. Okay. I thought if we were doing all of them, it might make more sense to do it as it is today and kind of going back, just kind of, but I'll leave that alone then.
Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Martin.
Yeah, before we vote, I guess on the final one, I did want to give the folks here their day. Last time I brought an amendment, or an amendment to the amendment for option number 1 at 10%, that was defeated. So I can't bring that same motion back, but I would like to bring an amendment to have option 1, but at 9%. And let us vote on that for the folks here.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Who was that? Alderman Bergdorf. Alderman Martin, can you restate the motion, please?
It's option 1 we discussed last BOMA meeting, but not at 10%, at 9%.
Okay. I think it's allowable. It's not the same motion.
Yeah.
Jason, can you bring up the chart that shows the different scenarios? There we go. So Alderman Martin, what you're saying is look at scenario 1 and say that 10% substitute with 9%?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Alderman Bergdorf, is that your understanding what the motion is?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Alderman Robertson.
So does that mean that the other employees get nothing?
No, they would still get their 2% COLA and 2.5% merit.
But no supplemental pay raise.
That's correct.
I can't support that because I don't think it's fair to the employees, so I won't be supporting that motion. I think we have a good one. Alderman Sassy put forward a good motion, and so I can't support leaving more employees out. Thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Evans.
Yeah, I was just, I appreciate looking at all different scenarios, but I feel like that we have gone back and forth, and I think we've got a good solution and a good compromise with scenario 2A, and so I think I'm going to support that one.
Alderman Evans, thank you. Alderman Garden.
I'm not going to support this because no other department other than public safety has unions here to support them. And we have to be here and look out for these guys too. And I think that this is absurd to drop them from getting a raise when everybody else has gotten one. So I will not support it.
Alderman Garden, thank you, and I very much agree. Any other people, anybody else wish to discuss or wish to have any deliberation? Okay, Jason, you ready for us? All those in favor of the motion, press the green button, which would be 9% under scenario 1. Those opposed, press the red one. That fails 3-10. Those voting in favor, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, and Martin. Those voting against, Alderman Ward, Sassy, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garten, Collins, Robertson, Evans, and myself. We're back on the main motion. Okay. Alderman Bergdorf, did you have something else?
No.
Okay. Alderman Gartner, is your light on just from before? Okay. Any other discussion? I'm sorry. Did you want to say something? Okay. Jason. So we're back on the main motion of the budget on second reading with a couple amendments that we've made. Does anybody need clarification? Okay. It's the second reading of ordinance 2025-09. Those in favor, press the green button. Those against, press the red one. Hold on. Y'all help me out. The motion, so we're not going to do it with this vote quite yet. Need some help. The motion for the $75,000 for the SAFER grant. Did we vote on that?
Yeah, voted on it, but I don't have a motion second for the original. It was a voice vote. Yeah, it will, no, okay.
Did you also put you right there?
Yeah.
Jason, you seem to, I think we did a voice vote on that. We're going to back up. Oh, I think we did. Okay. We're just looking at Jason. Does anybody know who made the second on that? I know I made the motion. You think Alderman Goodwin seconded it? Okay, so Alderman Goodwin seconded it? No. That was probably, so Jason, what you're showing us is the $75,000 for the SAFER grant. Okay. So just to give you an idea why it's a little bit confusing is because we have to keep track of the amendments that passed and were made 2 weeks ago. And so we have to make sure that those are different from the ones tonight. So Jason, what you're showing us is the $75,000 for the SAFER grant. Is that correct? Hold on here. Jason, hold on. Go ahead.
That was the first amendment you made.
Okay, okay. So we should be good. Oh. I gotcha.
You read the caption, and then you made this amendment.
So who made the motion, who made the motion for second reading of the budget? For the second reading of the budget? When we got to the second reading of the budget, who made that motion? Jason, are you finding it? Okay. Lance, I need you to pay attention here for a second. Okay. So no, because we're about to turn to you big time. So we don't have a motion, a main motion right now. yet we have changed that motion. Is that your understanding, Jason? Not necessarily, but that is Annette's understanding. What do we need to do?
Are we sure we don't have it?
Annette, Jason can't find it. Annette thinks that we don't have it. I was just too excited about that.
Well, why don't you make a motion for the main motion, get a second, and part of the motion, adopt everything that you just discussed.
Okay, can you say that? Can you say that?
My suggestion was that someone make a motion for the main motion, for the budget, the second reading of the budget with the second, and the motion also adopt all previously discussed items.
Hold on. There we go.
I move that we accept the second reading of our budget ordinance along with the amendments as now listed by Ms. Annette.
Second.
Okay, and it's second from
And Ms.
Alderman
Annette
Evans.
probably should have to list those amendments for the record.
Okay, thank you. Okay. This is why mayors shouldn't make motions. Okay, so the motion is that we pass the budget on second reading, and we include in that all the motions that we have made tonight that have been accepted. Okay, and that came from Alderman Collins and a second from Alderman Evans. I apologize, y'all.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you said something now. We've been here tomorrow, next couple nights. Alderman.
This is what happens when you meet on a Monday.
There you go.
Just-
Okay, any other clarification, any other comments about this? I apologize deeply. No, I'm glad you caught it. Okay, Jason, you ready for us? Okay. All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. You're okay? Okay, that passes unanimously. Give us just a second here. So Alderman Goodwin would like to make a motion.
Take a 5-minute break.
Alderman Goodwin would like to make a motion. We take a 5-minute break. Alderman Dixon? Second. All those in favor of taking a 5-minute break, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Just a second. So welcome back. Next we have on the agenda, second reading of ordinance 2025-11. This is an ordinance amending the budget ordinance 2024-08 to appropriate funds for insurance claims and other adjustments to the city's 2025, the current fiscal year budget. We have a motion from Alderman Sassy, a second from Alderman Goodwin. Did I hear that correctly? Okay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor of ordinance 2025-11, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have other agenda items, and the only thing we really have, and we'll get to some, is the consideration of canceling the June 24th, 2025 BOMA meeting. That would be a week from tomorrow night. We have a motion from Alderman Goodwin to cancel that. And we have a second from somebody way down there. Alderman Martin? Okay. So we will have,
Lost my earring.
so we also have canceled, help me out, Annette. July 8th, we have that canceled, but we will have July 22nd. I hope I'm saying this correctly. So our next meeting will be July 22nd if we pass this. Any discussion on this item? If there's something that comes up, I will contact you all about a special meeting. However, I don't anticipate one. This certainly helps our staff plan, helps us plan, it helps all of us plan. All those in favor of canceling our June 24th, 2025 BOMA meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That's unanimous. Who was that? Alderman Sassy voted no. That passes with a majority vote. Okay. We don't have any, we have reports listed. Okay. We can't do it. We can't do it. So it wasn't on the, so.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Alderman Goodwin makes a motion to adjourn, and Alderman Dixon makes a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Y'all have a good night. Appreciate y'all's work tonight.